Loving Sai Ram and greetings from Prashanti Nilayam. As you just heard, we are into the Ayodhya Kandam, and last time when I broke off, Minister Sumantra had just returned to Ayodhya after seeing Rama cross the Ganga and disappear into the forest on the other side. When he returned to Ayodhya, Sumantra noticed that the city, which normally presented a gay appearance, was now enveloped in gloom. That is where I shall start today's narration. Reaching the royal palace, Sumantra presented himself before Dasaratha and gave the emperor a full account of all that had transpired since Rama left Ayodhya. Dasaratha, who listened silently, became so overwhelmed that he just collapsed and fainted, even as Kausalya and Sumitra rushed to catch him. After gently lowering his body onto the bed, Kausalya gave vent to her pent-up feelings, even as Dasaratha lay unconscious. Later, when he regained consciousness, Dasaratha managed to inquire how the exiles were adjusting to the sudden change in lifestyle and whether Rama had sent any message. With tears in his eyes and in a most respectful tone, Sumantra replied, "O Emperor, Rama told me, 'Dear Minister, please place your head at the feet of my father and tell him that through you I am offering my respects to him. Next, convey my respects and kind inquiries to all the people in attendance in the inner chambers. To Mother Kausalya, please convey my deepest respect, and then gently as well as most politely remind her that she should set aside any sorrow and focus instead on service to the emperor, which is her prime duty. Also, tell mother that she must show due respect to Kaikeyi and treat Bharata as the real king of the kingdom." Sumantra continued, "Your Majesty, for Bharata, Rama had this special message, which was that he must always respect father and his advice. In addition, Rama wanted Bharata to show to Mother Kausalya the same love that he has for Rama. Dear Emperor, Lakshmana also had his own message, a rather harsh one, I must say. Lakshmana said to me, 'Ask my father what wrong did Rama commit to deserve banishment.' The emperor had publicly announced that Rama would be crowned, and yet he went against the word given. Sending Rama to the forest is improper, illegal, and totally unjust." That was Lakshmana's message, sir. Finally, sire, Sita asked me to convey that she was solely preoccupied with assisting Rama in adjusting to life in the forest. O Emperor, when I turned my chariot towards Ayodhya to make the return trip, even the horses lamented the departure of Rama, whom they had the opportunity of directly serving for a short while. In fact, they were most reluctant to come back, and I had to force them to do so. Your Majesty, I too was reluctant to return. I spent 3 days with Guha, hoping against hope that Rama might change his mind and come back. However, the embodiment of Dharma that he is, Rama went his way as he had firmly resolved. That, sire, is all I have to say." Dasaratha, who was already feeling miserable, felt more so now after hearing the messages brought by Sumantra. Blaming himself squarely for what had happened, he said, "Sumantra, please take me immediately to where Rama is. I feel I might die any moment. O Rama, O Lakshmana and O Sita, none of you are aware how lonely I feel being away from all of you." Lamenting thus, the monarch collapsed on the couch, filling Kausalya with great fear. It was now Kausalya's turn to wail and lament, and while Sumantra did his best to console her, he found that he could not, after which he left, feeling that it was best that Dasaratha and Kausalya share their agony in private. Staring at Dasaratha in anger, Kausalya then cried, "It's all your fault. I have been utterly destroyed by you. Indeed, everyone in this land barring Kaikeyi and her son Bharata have been ruined. Those are the only two who would be happy with all that has happened thanks to your misdeed." Dasaratha slowly opened his eyes, even as Kausalya was speaking. He fully understood her pain and realized that it was he who had caused it. Joining his palms in a respectful gesture, he said to Kausalya in a feeble and trembling voice, "My dear, you surely must be aware how much agony I am myself experiencing right now. Do you have to add to that with such harsh words? Sometimes things happen over which we have no control and which are the result of past actions. My being separated from dear Rama is, I now realize, the consequence of a sin I committed unintentionally many years ago when I was young and not yet married." Slowly, Dasaratha then began revealing the details of what happened many years earlier, when as a young prince, he once went hunting in the forest near the Sarayu river. It was the rainy season and night had fallen. However, he was skilled in the art of shooting accurately an arrow at an animal merely on the basis of the sound it produced. Darkness was thus never an impediment to his hunting. Hiding near a bush, young Dasaratha waited for a buffalo or an elephant or a deer to come to the water to quench its thirst. Suddenly, he heard a sound that seemed to come from an elephant drinking water. He then shot an arrow, following which he heard a cry of pain, making clear that his arrow had found its mark. However, the cry was not from an elephant, but from a human, and Dasaratha immediately realized with shock that he had committed a huge mistake. Rushing to the spot from where the cry came, Dasaratha saw a hermit lying on the ground, holding a pitcher in his hand and with an arrow sticking out of his body. He realized then that the gurgling sound he heard earlier came not from an elephant drinking water, but from a pitcher that was being filled. Upon seeing the young prince, the hermit, who was shrieking in pain, demanded to know what harm he had done to be attacked in this foul manner. He added, "I don't mind dying, but how would my aged and blind parents who are very thirsty get water to drink? Your arrow is not only killing me but also my parents. There is only one way out of this. First, you pull out this arrow that has penetrated deep into me so that my pain is diminished somewhat. Thereafter, you follow my instructions and take this jar of water to my parents so that they may quench their thirst." Moving closer to the innocent victim, Dasaratha then slowly pulled out the deadly arrow. Meanwhile, the wounded man gave instructions concerning how to reach his hermitage, after which he breathed his last. Feeling utterly devastated, Dasharatha slowly walked along the track he had been asked to follow and reached their destination. Hearing his footfalls as he approached, the aged couple mistook it to be that of their son returning with drinking water. Speaking in this belief, the blind father asked, "Son, what took you so long?" Dasharatha just stood, not knowing what to say. The father then asked, "Son, why is it that you are so silent? Is anything wrong?" Slowly Dasharatha began to speak and said, "Sir, I am a Kshatriya, Dasharatha by name. While engaged in hunting, I accidentally killed your son." Dasharatha then went on to narrate the entire episode. The aged and blind father felt utterly devastated and said, "O Prince, you did at least one good thing. Instead of just walking away unwilling to face us, you had the decency to come and tell us what happened. On account of that good act, destiny would spare your race from immediate extinction. I now want you to take both of us to the spot where our son lies dead." With the help of Dasharatha, the blind and aged parents then went to the spot where their dear son was lying lifeless, covered with blood. Since they could not see, they felt the body with their hands over and over again, even as they wailed and lamented, giving vent to their despair and deep anguish. In a voice full of bitterness, the father cried out, "Dear son, you lived and died a good person and would therefore go to heaven. However, this prince here, who through his thoughtless act took you away from us, he will face a grim fate." Thereafter, the last rites were performed as best as possible under the circumstances. After which the father turned to Dasharatha and said, "O Prince, why don't you complete your cruel sport by killing me? I am not afraid to die, nor do I have any hesitation in doing so. Let me tell you that with all the powers latent in me, I could easily reduce you to ashes this very moment. However, since you killed my son accidentally, I impose on you a lighter punishment. I thus curse that when the time comes, you too would die on account of the pain of separation from your son." The father of the deceased then asked Dasharatha to arrange a pyre and light it. The parents then joined hands and entered the fire, immolating themselves. That, Dasharatha concluded, was the story from his past. And he added, "Kausalya, I had more or less forgotten that incident. However, the consequences of that past have not forgotten me and appear to have come now to extract the final penalty." So saying, Dasharatha slowly slipped into deep sleep. Later in the middle of the night, his life ebbed away without anyone being aware of it. As dawn approached, all the traditional procedures of awakening the king with sacred chants, ceremonial drum beats, the ringing of bells, the blowing of conches, etc. were duly commenced. The junior consorts of the monarch then went near him to rouse him from slumber, but were shocked to find no sign of life. Alarmed, they began to scream, which awakened both Kausalya and Sumitra, who, overcome by exhaustion while maintaining an all-night vigil, had themselves slipped into deep sleep. The news of the king's death quickly spread, creating a total change in the atmosphere not only in the palace but indeed throughout Ayodhya. While Kausalya lamented placing Dasharatha's head on her lap, sage Vasishtha assisted by the ministers, began planning for what needed to be done next. It was a most unusual situation, with all the 4 sons of Dasaratha being absent from Ayodhya. While Rama and Lakshmana had gone away on exile, Bharata, accompanied by Shatrughna, had gone off to faraway Kekeya kingdom to spend time with his grandfather. Since the funeral rites could be performed only by a son, the immediate task was to preserve the body for an extended period of time. Offering suitable words of consolation to the grieving queens, the body of the late emperor was gently removed and, in accordance with established practice, placed in a huge trough of special oil with preservative qualities. Ayodhya, which had never been without a king before, was now literally headless, making the situation not only sad and painful, but also somewhat critical. On the morning of the following day, the Brahmanas, who had the responsibility of carrying on the duties of a king during any interregnum, assembled in the court, with sage Vasishtha presiding. Those present included respected elders like sages Vamadeva, Markandeya, Kashyapa, Katyayana, Gautama and Jabali. Addressing sage Vasishtha, they spoke one after the other, drawing attention to the dangers that a kingdom without a ruler would face, and hence the importance of installing a ruler immediately. In the end, they told Vasishtha in one voice, "O wise one, we leave it to you to place on the throne any prince of the Ikshvaku race. Whatever be your choice, it must be made quickly. That's all we desire." Responding to the popular view, sage Vasishtha said, "You are all no doubt aware that before he passed away, the emperor had, under circumstances you are all familiar with, bestowed the kingship on Prince Bharata. Right now, Bharata is spending time with his maternal uncle and grandfather, totally unaware of developments here. Our first priority must therefore be to send a message to Bharata to return immediately. Do you all agree?" In one voice, the assembly unanimously endorsed Vasishtha's suggestion. Whereupon Vasishtha said, "Siddhartha, Vijaya, Jayanta, Ashoka and Nandana, will all of you step forward, please?" And when they did, Vasishtha continued, "I want all of you to be the messengers of this royal court, and, riding on swift horses, go as quickly as possible to Rajagriha or the royal palace in the capital city of the Kekeya kingdom. On reaching your destination, you shall, without showing any trace of the grief you are now feeling, give the following message to Bharata. You are to tell him, the family preceptor and elders of the kingdom convey their greetings and wish to inform you that all is well. Meanwhile, there is some urgent business awaiting you, and you are therefore requested to return to Ayodhya immediately. That is the message you shall deliver, and remember, no mention about Rama's exile or of Dasaratha's demise. Take all the gifts that must be given to the host and make arrangements to leave at once." Wasting no time, the chosen messengers left immediately on the long and arduous journey. Riding through forests, crossing mountains and rivers, and taking barely any rest, the messengers from Ayodhya finally reached the city of Girivraja, the capital of the Kekeya kingdom. It was already late in the night, and so the messengers did not make any attempt to see Bharata immediately on arrival, putting it off for the following morning. That night, Bharata had a bad dream. So frightening was it that when he woke up next morning, he shared the details with his friends and concluded, "I fear that there is going to be some death in the family. I am too scared to think about it." Meanwhile, when dawn broke, the messengers quickly made their way to Rajagriha, or the royal palace. On arrival, they were immediately taken to the presence of the king and the crown prince of the kingdom, to whom they offered their salutations. Turning then to Bharata, who they expected to be the future king, they touched his feet and said, "Sage Vasishtha and the other priests send the message that all is well. They have also sent gifts for your uncle and grandfather. Please accept them and hand them over as a gesture of respect from the Kosala kingdom. And after that, please get ready to leave for Ayodhya immediately, because there is some matter you have to attend to. And that task we have been asked to stress cannot brook any delay." Bharata distributed the gifts sent as he was asked to. But deep within, he sensed that there was a link between his bad dream and the sudden appearance of messengers from Ayodhya. As was to be expected, he then asked the messengers the obvious questions. "Is my father well? How are Rama and Lakshmana? How is Mother Kausalya?" And so on. This precisely was what the messengers had feared all along, and they became acutely conscious of the fact that they should show no sign of hesitation in giving a reply, since that would immediately arouse suspicions in the mind of Bharata. At the same time, they could not afford to speak untruth. It was a great test of their diplomatic skills. And rising to the occasion, they said, "O Prince, we are urging you to rush to Ayodhya because the goddess of good fortune is eagerly awaiting your return. There is no time to lose, and we suggest you take leave of your near and dear and get ready for the journey." Thereupon Bharata bade farewell to his grandfather, uncle, and all the rest. Bharata's grandfather then showered his grandson with innumerable gifts, and summoning a palace official, asked him to go along with Bharata and make sure that all the gifts were properly delivered in Ayodhya. Leaving the palace and travelling as fast as they could, the party reached Ayodhya after a tiring journey lasting many days. Bharata's misgivings increased the moment he saw Ayodhya, even if it was from a distance. Something was clearly wrong, for gloom seemed to envelop the city instead of the usual joy and happiness. Proceeding speedily to the palace, he entered his father's quarters full of concern and anxiety. Not finding his father there, he then went to his mother's chamber in the gymnasium. When Kaikeyi saw Bharata entering her room, her heart was filled with joy, and she rushed with open arms to fold him in a warm embrace. Brushing aside her inquiries about the journey, Bharata asked, "Father was often in your apartment. I don't see him here, and I could not find him in his chamber either. Why is that?" Kaikeyi replied, "Son, your father has gone where all virtuous people must go after the time is up." Hearing the shocking news, Bharata collapsed to the ground and started wailing and lamenting. Kaikeyi bent down to caress and console Bharata, who then asked, "What caused the sudden death of father? How unlucky I am not to have been by my father's side when he breathed his last. At least Rama and Lakshmana had that blessing and the opportunity to fulfill their duty as sons by performing the funeral rites. And by the way, did the king leave any message for me before he passed away?" It was a tricky moment for Kaikeyi, who, wanting to appear as if she was merely reporting facts, replied, "Bharata, your father did not even mention your name. He died crying, 'O Rama, O Lakshmana, O Sita,' that's all." Intrigued by the reply, Bharata then asked, "Where is Rama? I don't see him anywhere." The time had come at last to slowly describe all that had happened, and as a preamble to it, Kaikeyi said, "Your father became broken-hearted because Rama and Lakshmana went away to the forest wearing the attire of hermits. As for Sita, she went along with Rama." Forgetting his grief momentarily, Bharata, who was totally perplexed, asked, "Why did Rama go away to the forest? Was he banished for committing some unpardonable crime? That seems impossible. I must know this very moment why Rama went away to the forest." Gushing with motherly love, Kaikeyi replied, "Bharata, Rama did not go to the forest because he had committed any crime. One day during your absence, your father decided to install Rama on the throne. When I heard that, I asked him to install you instead, sending Rama into exile. Rama then went into exile with Lakshmana and Sita opting to go along with him. Heartbroken, your father then passed away. The throne is now vacant and Ayodhya is waiting for you. In fact, it is dependent on you. I did all this for you and your sake only. Let us not waste time by discussing the past. Perform forthwith the funeral rites for your father, and after that, get ready to be consecrated and become the ruler of this great kingdom." Bharata simply could not believe what he had just heard. And when the full import of the shocking news he had just received hit him, he flew into an uncontrollable rage and began accusing as well as abusing Kaikeyi of being a mean, scheming, cruel woman who did not mind even driving her own husband to death just so that she might have a sinful wish of hers fulfilled. In a most emphatic tone, Bharata then declared, "It is a common practice that when the occasion arises, the eldest son alone is crowned king. The Ikshvaku dynasty, this rule has always been scrupulously observed. This throne of Ayodhya that you have tried to secure for me through cunning and deception cannot be accepted by me under any circumstance, especially when Rama is very much alive. The only honorable course open for me is to seek out Rama, fall at his feet, seek his pardon for a crime for which I am in no way responsible, and beg him to return immediately. As for me, forget about my ever being king. My role in life is to be a servant of Rama and nothing else. Is that clear?" Feeling utterly devastated and totally exhausted, Bharata then just collapsed to the ground. When he regained consciousness, Bharata reiterated his determination to seek out Rama and bring him back. Meanwhile, hearing the voice of Bharata, Kausalya, who was in her chamber and in the company of Sumitra, said to her, "It appears as if Bharata has returned. Kaikeyi may be a schemer, but Bharata is cast in a different mold. I long to see him." Even as Kausalya was speaking these words, Bharata, who had regained consciousness, entered Kausalya's chamber accompanied by Shatrughna. Eyes full of tears, the two brothers then hugged Kausalya. By nature, Kausalya was extremely gentle, full of forbearance, and most compassionate. And yet, the grave injustice done to Rama momentarily eclipsed her true nature. And on seeing Bharata, she burst out, "So, you have come. Enjoy the kingdom secured for you by your scheming mother, unmindful of the harm she was causing and the grave sin she was committing." For Bharata, who was already feeling utterly miserable, this seemed like the last straw. With folded palms and head bent low, he said amid sobs, "Mother, why are you saying such words to me, especially since you are well aware of my deep love for Rama? Moreover, was I anywhere near here when all this happened? If indeed it is true that I was in any manner even remotely connected with Rama's exile, then may I be punished with the worst possible fate imagined. I have nothing more to add. So saying, Bharata, his cup of misery overflowing, slowly crashed to the ground, falling unconscious yet one more time, even as Kausalya realized the wrong she had done. Rushing to his side and placing his head on her lap, Kausalya began sobbing while reproaching herself for being so hasty and thoughtless in reprimanding innocent Bharata. Meanwhile, even as Bharata was coming back to consciousness, sage Vasishtha appeared on the scene. Speaking gently, he said to Bharata, O illustrious prince, your grief is perfectly understandable. But when duty calls, one must set aside even unbearable grief. Your father's funeral is long overdue, and performing it must be your first priority. Snapping into action, Bharata then promptly gave instructions to have the body of his late father removed from the vessel of oil where it had been stored thus far, and start making all the preparation necessary for the final journey. Even as the various arrangements were being made, Vasishtha whispered to Bharata, everyone's eyes would now be on you. It is therefore your duty to remain calm and be in full control of your emotions, setting an example to all the others. Such is the discipline expected of a prince, especially one belonging to the Ikshvaku race. Well, time is up, and I think this is a good point to cut off for this week. I hope you would join me again next week to learn what happens next. Thank you for being with me and sharing the Ramayana along with me. May God bless you all. Jai Sai Ram.